The desert winds of Sthura whipped through the rocky canyons as the Zelvar delegation gathered beneath the towering obsidian spires that marked the planet's ceremonial ground. The air shimmered with heat, and the scent of crushed spice herbs mingled with the faint metallic tang of ancient weaponry displayed along the walls. This was a place where honor was etched in stone, and today the fate of humanity would be tested here. Captain Marcus Holt stood quietly in the shadow of the landing pod, eyes scanning the alien faces around him. The Zelvar were taller than humans by nearly a head, their skin a deep russet, marked with ceremonial scars and tattoos signifying status and clan. The alien language, a complex series of clicks and guttural tones, buzzed through the air as the delegation awaited his response. The moment was heavy with anticipation. Humanity's first official contact with an alien species was not just a diplomatic meeting. It was a trial by fire. Lady Valkyra, the matriarch of the Zelvar, stepped forward. Her presence was regal and intimidating. Draped in crimson and gold, with a tattoo of the sun serpent curling across her bare shoulder, she radiated authority. "Human," she said in heavily accented Common, "you stand before the Zelvar with honor, or you face dishonor. To prove your species' worth, you will accept our ancient challenge. The Duel of Champions." Marcus nodded deliberately. He had read the briefing, a ritual combat to demonstrate strength and resolve. It was archaic, brutal, and the stakes were high. If the human delegation failed, diplomatic relations would be severed forever. But if Marcus won, the Zelvar would be bound to a treaty of mutual respect. "Understood," Marcus said, voice steady. "I accept." The champion chosen by Valkyra was a towering figure named Kelmer, muscular, battle-hardened, and scarred from a lifetime of combat. He cracked his knuckles and grinned, showing rows of jagged teeth. The crowd hushed as the two combatants approached the fighting pit, a circular arena carved from the red rock. The rules were simple: fight until submission or death. Marcus's mind raced as he sized up Kelmer. The Zelvar fought with strength and ritual, but humans excelled at adaptability. The duel began with a deafening roar from the crowd. Kelmer charged, wielding a massive double-edged glaive with deadly precision. Marcus sidestepped with unexpected speed, feeling the blade slice the air just inches from his ribs. With a sharp twist, Marcus grabbed a nearby shard of rock, turning it into a makeshift weapon. The Zelvar laughed, amused at this primitive tactic. But Marcus's strikes were calculated, exploiting gaps in Kelmer's defense. His movements were fluid, blending martial arts with battlefield experience. Then came the moment that shocked everyone. As Kelmer swung his glaive in a wide arc, Marcus ducked and countered with a precise strike, slashing through the armored plates at the champion's midsection. The blade bit deep, and with a sickening crunch, Marcus split Kelmer in half, the two halves falling to the arena floor. A stunned silence fell. Lady Valkyra's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. The crowd was frozen, unable to believe what they had witnessed. By Zelvar law, the champion's death meant more than defeat. It triggered an ancient edict. Lady Valkyra and her maids were now legally bound as the champion's concubines, transferred by law to Marcus as the victor. Marcus exhaled slowly, aware of the weight of what just happened. This was no mere victory in combat. It was a seismic cultural shock. The law was clear, yet none could fathom the consequences. Valkyra stepped forward, face a mask of fury and disbelief. "You have torn apart our champion. And now, by law, I and my maids are yours." Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "I respect your customs, but I also believe in fairness. I do not seek to dishonor you, only to establish peace." Valkyra's maids, standing silently behind her, were a mix of shock, anger, and intrigue. These women, warriors and diplomats themselves, were now tied to a human by ancient law. The implications rippled through the gathered crowd like wildfire. Marcus realized the magnitude of what lay ahead. Not just political negotiations, but navigating an uncharted cultural minefield. One that would challenge everything humans and Zelvar thought they knew about honor, strength, and alliance. As the Zelvar elders conferred in hushed tones, Marcus took a moment to steady himself. The battle had been brutal, but the real challenge was only beginning. Key character developments. Captain Marcus Holt reveals his tactical brilliance and calm under pressure, showcasing human adaptability and innovation. His respect for alien customs hints at his diplomatic potential beyond mere brute strength. Lady Valkyra emerges as a proud, fiercely traditional matriarch, whose honor and status are deeply tied to her champion. Her initial fury masks a complex mix of vulnerability and intrigue about the unpredictable human. Kelmer, the champion, though swiftly defeated, symbolizes the old ways and the strength of the Zelvar warrior culture, making his loss a poignant moment of change. Major conflicts and turning points. The acceptance of the Duel of Champions sets the stage for a clash of species and cultures, highlighting human unpredictability against alien tradition. The decisive and shocking victory of Marcus challenges Zelvar societal norms and triggers the ancient law binding Valkyra and her maids as his concubines, a legal and political powder keg. Emotional and thematic beats. Awe and disbelief pervade the scene. The aliens cannot believe a human could split their champion in half, while Marcus processes the gravity of their law and cultural shock. The tension between respect for ancient customs and the disruption caused by human ingenuity underscores the classic HFY theme of humanity's resilience and unpredictable nature. A subtle, almost dark humor arises from the absurdity and seriousness of the concubines by law situation, setting up future cultural clashes and camaraderie. World-building elements. Sthura's desert landscape and ceremonial grounds emphasize the harsh, unforgiving nature of the Zelvar environment, shaping their warrior culture. The Zelvar's hierarchical society, with rigid laws and ancient rituals like the Duel of Champions, establishes a clear contrast to human diplomacy and pragmatism. The alien combat styles and weaponry, the glaive, ceremonial scars, and ritual combat, highlight the cultural pride and martial tradition of the Zelvar. Humanity's position as newcomers, relying on tactical flexibility and diplomacy rather than brute force alone, underscores the HFY spirit. Marcus looked out over the crowd, a mixture of amazement and dread in their eyes. He understood that winning the duel was only the first battle. Now he had to navigate the tangled web of Zelvar laws, honor, and politics, all while figuring out what it truly meant to be bound by concubines by law. As Lady Valkyra's eyes locked with his, a silent challenge passed between them. This was far from over. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2 next, or work on character profiles or some specific dialogue? The ceremonial grounds of Sthura, once the stage of brutal honor and ancient tradition, had transformed into an uneasy diplomatic arena. The sun hung low, casting long shadows over the gathered crowd. Captain Marcus Holt found himself caught between worlds, part conqueror, part diplomat, and part unexpected guardian. Lady Valkyra sat stiffly on a carved stone bench near the edge of the human delegation's camp. Her expression was a mask of controlled fury and simmering humiliation. Beside her, three of her maids, tall, fierce warriors with eyes sharp as razors, shifted uncomfortably, their loyalty torn between ancient law and the absurd predicament forced upon them. Marcus approached slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Lady Valkyra," he began, his voice steady but respectful, "I understand your anger. What has happened is not what either of us expected. But I want to find a way forward, together." Valkyra's eyes flashed. "You split Kelmer in two. You humiliated me. Yet here I sit bound by your victory. Tell me, Captain, what does a human want from Zelvar honor?" Marcus chose his words carefully. "Not conquest. Not humiliation. Mutual respect. Cooperation. Our strengths can be combined." The maids exchanged wary glances. One stepped forward, Sira, youngest and most skeptical. "Respect does not erase shame. We are warriors, bound to you by a law older than your species. How do you intend to honor that?" Marcus met Sira's gaze with a faint smile. "By treating you as allies, not trophies. Struggles and cultural clashes. The following days were a whirlwind of awkward interactions and cultural misunderstandings. Marcus learned quickly that being Master of Concubines was no simple title. It carried expectations, protocols, and social traps that could ignite diplomatic disaster. Valkyra and her maids refused to behave as subservient women. Instead, they asserted their dignity, insisting on equal voice in discussions. Their warrior skills were undeniable, and Marcus respected that, often consulting them for advice. "I've fought beside many warriors," Marcus told them during a late evening discussion beneath the twin moons of Sthura. "But your tactics, your discipline, they're exceptional. I'd be foolish not to learn." Valkyra's lips twitched in the barest hint of a smile. "You underestimate us if you think our worth lies only in combat." Syrah's tone was sharper. "You will need more than respect to survive here, Captain. There are factions that see this arrangement as a weakness. They will strike. Political intrigue and the rival faction." Marcus soon discovered the truth in Syrah's words. A rival faction, led by a ruthless figure named Varkis, had long opposed Valkyra's leadership. Varkis viewed the human presence, and Marcus's newfound ownership of Valkyra and her maids, as an affront to Zelvar tradition and a threat to his ambitions. One evening, in a dimly lit war room carved from Sthura's red stone, Varkis's scheming came to light. His spies had been active, sabotaging supply lines, spreading rumors, and fomenting unrest. "The humans are intruders," Varkis hissed during a secret council. "Their leader wears our matriarch's honor as a trophy. This cannot stand." His followers nodded, voices low but fierce. "We will strike when the time is right. Their guard will be down." Back at the human camp, Marcus sensed the growing tension. The Zelvar elders were divided, some rallying behind Valkyra and Marcus, others whispering in dark corners about rebellion, sabotage and rising stakes. The fragile peace shattered with the explosion at the humans' primary supply depot. Flames licked the night sky as Marcus's team scrambled to contain the damage. Fortunately, no lives were lost, but the message was clear. They were not welcome. Valkyra arrived swiftly, her maids flanking her like living weapons. "This is war," she said grimly. "If we do not act, Varkis will plunge Sthura into chaos." Marcus nodded. "Then we'll show them that humanity is not so easily broken." Together, Marcus, Valkyra, and her maids devised a plan to root out the saboteurs. It was a delicate balance. Too heavy-handed, and they risked alienating the population. Too lax, and the rival faction would grow bolder. Syrah, who had been skeptical of Marcus since the duel, now worked closely with him. "Your unpredictability might be your greatest weapon," she admitted grudgingly. Growing camaraderie and mutual respect. As days passed, the tension between Marcus and the Zelvar women began to thaw into a cautious camaraderie. Shared meals, tactical discussions, and even moments of levity broke down the barriers. One evening, Syrah challenged Marcus to a sparring match, not as an adversary, but as a test of skill and trust. Marcus accepted, his grin broadening. The clash was fierce but friendly, a dance of blades beneath the twin moons. "You fight like a Zelvar," Syrah said, breathless but smiling. "You might just survive this world." Valkyra watched quietly, her eyes reflecting pride and something softer, perhaps respect or even hope. Key character developments. Captain Marcus Holt grows from a tactical warrior to a diplomatic leader, balancing respect and pragmatism. His willingness to listen and adapt earns reluctant trust. Lady Valkyra transitions from humiliation to a pragmatic acceptance, beginning to view Marcus not only as a victor but as an ally. Syrah and the maids individually emerge from suspicion to tentative cooperation, showcasing distinct personalities and forging complex bonds with Marcus. Varkis, antagonist revealed as a ruthless, xenophobic power player, embodying the resistance to change within Zelvar society. Major conflicts and turning points. Cultural and personal tensions between Marcus and the Zelvar women rise, but begin to evolve toward cooperation. The sabotage attack marks a dramatic escalation, threatening peace and forcing Marcus and Valkyra to unite. The political intrigue deepens with the rival factions' plot, setting the stage for future conflict. Emotional and thematic beats. The chapter explores themes of pride, honor, and cultural friction, emphasizing that respect is earned, not given. Moments of humor and humility highlight human adaptability and empathy, hallmarks of the HFY spirit. The slow-building camaraderie under pressure showcases emotional depth and the power of unlikely alliances. World-building elements. Stura's political factions and the fragile balance of power within Zelvar society are explored in detail. The complex social role of Valkyra's maids adds layers to Zelvar gender and class dynamics. Human technology and tactics are contrasted with Zelvar traditions, deepening the cultural clash and cooperation theme. As the twin moons rose high over Stura, Marcus knew the true battle was only beginning. To survive and to build a future, he would have to be more than a warrior. He would have to become a bridge between two fiercely proud worlds. And in that bridge, Lady Valkyra and her maids were no longer just trophies of war, but partners in a fragile, unfolding alliance. Would you like to proceed to Chapter 3 next? Or would you prefer character profiles or some dialogue scenes between Marcus and Valkyra? The dawn broke cold and unforgiving over the crimson dunes of Stura. A heavy tension hung in the air, thicker than the dust storms that regularly swept the desert planet. Captain Marcus Holt stood atop a ridge overlooking the sprawling Zelvar city below, the obsidian towers glinting ominously in the early light. The threat from Varkis's faction was no longer whispered rumor. It was a full-scale siege. The siege begins. Just days after the sabotage that crippled the human supply depot, Varkis's forces had mobilized swiftly, launching a coordinated assault on Valkyra's stronghold. Their warriors surged like a tidal wave, armed with energy weapons and brutal close combat skill honed over generations. From the ridge, Marcus could see the chaos unfolding. Zelvar defenders scrambling to reinforce barricades, battle cries echoing off stone walls, and the sharp flare of plasma fire lighting up the morning. "We need a plan," Marcus said, voice calm but urgent, as Valkyra and her maids gathered beside him. The air smelled of ozone and dust, and the tension was palpable. Valkyra's eyes burned with a fierce determination. "They want to break us by force, to undo what has been set in motion. But we are not so easily broken." Sira, standing rigid with arms crossed, added, "Their numbers are greater, but they lack discipline. They will rush. We must be ready to exploit their arrogance." Marcus nodded, the gears in his mind turning rapidly. "Then we'll give them something they won't expect." Tactical innovation. Marcus's plan was unorthodox by Zelvar standards. Instead of relying on the traditional frontline defense, he proposed a series of mobile, guerrilla-style counterattacks using human technology combined with the Zelvar's intimate knowledge of the terrain. Valkyra raised a skeptical eyebrow. "You suggest we fight like nomads rather than warriors?" "Exactly," Marcus said, his tone confident. "Hit and fade before they can regroup. Use the environment. Use surprise." Sira smirked, the first real sign of approval from the maids. Unpredictable. Human. Together, they coordinated a night raid on one of Varkis's supply lines. Marcus led a small squad equipped with stealth drones and plasma rifles, moving like shadows through the rocky canyons. The Zelvar warriors followed, blending their ancient hunting skills with modern tech. The strike was devastatingly effective. They destroyed ammunition caches, captured key leaders, and slipped away before the enemy could mount a proper defense. Escalating conflict and moral dilemmas. But victory came at a cost. During one raid, one of Marcus's soldiers, Private Lewis, was gravely wounded. Valkyra personally oversaw his treatment, her clinical precision revealing a surprising medical knowledge. "That child fights with fire in his soul," she muttered to Marcus. "But he is reckless." Marcus's expression tightened. "We can't afford to lose good men or lose our humanity." The incident sparked tension within the camp. Some Zelvar viewed human medical methods and care for the weak as weakness. Others, like Valkyra and her maids, began to see it as a strength. In quiet moments, Marcus and Valkyra shared candid conversations about the cost of war and the price of honor. "Your people are strange," Valkyra said one evening, the twin moons casting silver light on her face. "You fight fiercely, but you heal fiercely too." "It confuses me," Marcus smiled. "We fight for more than victory. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves." The breaking point. The siege dragged on, and Varkis grew desperate. In a bold move, he launched an assault directly on the ceremonial grounds, the very heart of Zelvar tradition and power. The attack was swift and brutal. Marcus and Valkyra fought side by side, their combined tactics a fusion of human ingenuity and Zelvar strength. The maids moved like deadly shadows, cutting down enemies with lethal grace. But Varkis was cunning, and in the chaos, he captured one of Valkyra's maids, Lyra, the fiercest and most loyal. Valkyra's fury erupted, the loss striking at her core. "If we lose her, we lose the battle and everything we have built." Marcus clenched his jaw. "Then we'll get her back. Together." The rescue and the alliance. Marcus and Valkyra devised a daring plan to rescue Lyra. Using intelligence gathered by their combined forces, they infiltrated Varkis's fortress under cover of night. The tension was suffocating as they navigated labyrinthine corridors and bypassed patrols. Marcus's heart pounded, not just from the danger, but from the fragile trust growing between him and Valkyra. At the prison chamber, Marcus breached the lock with a plasma cutter. Lyra, bruised but defiant, met his eyes with a silent challenge. "We're not just your trophies," she whispered fiercely. "We fight. We survive. We choose." Marcus nodded, respect deepening in his gaze. "And I'm honored to fight alongside you." The escape was a whirlwind of fire and chaos, but they made it back to camp. The maids surrounded Lyra, their bond unbroken. Key character developments. Marcus Holt demonstrates adaptability and leadership beyond brute force, blending human technology and tactics with alien knowledge. His compassion strengthens his role as a unifying figure. Lady Valkyra moves from proud matriarch to committed ally and warrior partner, showing vulnerability and fierce loyalty to her people. Sira and the maids emerge as complex characters, not submissive captives but warriors with agency and spirit. Lyra's capture and rescue deepen their narrative importance. Varkis grows into a formidable antagonist, ruthless and cunning, embodying the resistance to change and xenophobia within the Zelvar. Major conflicts and turning points. The siege represents an escalation from political intrigue to full-scale warfare, raising stakes dramatically. Marcus's unconventional tactics surprise and unsettle the Zelvar, highlighting human unpredictability. The capture and rescue of Lyra humanizes the conflict, forcing characters to confront personal and moral stakes. Emotional and thematic beats. Themes of resilience, loyalty, and honor are explored through battle and personal sacrifice. The blending of cultures and tactics under pressure reinforces the HFY theme of human ingenuity and spirit. Moments of camaraderie and mutual respect deepen the emotional core, balancing action with human connection. World-building elements. The siege reveals the brutal realities of Zelvar warfare and the strategic importance of Sthura's terrain. The complex social roles of the maids and their integral place in both combat and diplomacy are emphasized. The blending of human technology, stealth drones, plasma cutters, with alien weaponry illustrates the merging of cultures. As the sun set behind the red dunes, painting the sky with streaks of fire, Marcus stood beside Valkyra atop the ruined walls of the ceremonial grounds. The cost of the siege was heavy, but the alliance between human and Zelvar had never been stronger. "Tomorrow," Marcus said quietly, "we fight not just for survival, but for a future." Valkyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "Together, then, as champions of both our peoples." The night whispered promises of battles to come, and a fragile hope born of fire, steel, and unexpected friendship. Would you like to proceed with Chapter 4, or focus on expanding any particular scene or character arc? The dawn air was thick with anticipation, and the scent of scorched earth. The city of Sthura, once a bastion of ancient tradition and rigid hierarchies, now stood at the precipice of transformation. The final battle was upon them. Captain Marcus Holt stood alongside Lady Valkyra and her maids, their faces hardened by the weeks of siege but shining with unyielding resolve. Behind them, the combined forces of humans and loyal Zelvar warriors prepared for the assault that would decide the fate of their fragile alliance, and the future of two worlds. The calm before the storm. Before the clash, there was a moment of uneasy calm. Marcus walked among the soldiers, both human and Zelvar, feeling the electric tension that only the imminence of war can bring. The maids gathered close to Valkyra, exchanging quiet words of encouragement and steel-forging determination. Sira approached Marcus, her usual guarded demeanor softened. "You have changed things here, Captain," she said quietly. "Not just in battle, but in their hearts." Marcus nodded. "We fight together now. Not as masters and captives, but as equals." Valkyra's voice cut through the quiet. "Today we fight not for old laws, but for a new legacy." The battle unfolds. Varkis's forces stormed the city with ferocity fueled by desperation and hatred. The clash of plasma fire and clashing blades echoed through the streets. Buildings shook under the pounding of hooves and the roar of mechanized beasts. Marcus led a coordinated counterattack, utilizing every tactic and alliance formed over the past weeks. Human squads paired with Zelvar warriors, combining agility and firepower with brutal melee skill. Valkyra fought at Marcus's side, her blade a whirlwind of deadly precision. The maids moved like shadows, silent, lethal, unstoppable. Their synchronized strikes devastated enemy ranks. Amidst the chaos, Marcus spotted Varkis rallying his forces near the central plaza, a chance to end the battle decisively. The duel of champions. Without hesitation, Marcus and Valkyra surged toward the plaza, leaving squads to hold the line behind them. The air crackled with tension as the two leaders faced each other across the bloodied square. Varkis sneered. "You think your human tricks can save this city? You are a fool." Marcus replied. "You underestimate the strength that comes from unity." The duel was brutal. Varkis's raw power met Marcus's tactical precision and adaptability. Valkyra's training and experience made her a fearsome ally, and the maids flanked their champion, ready to strike. The fight pushed Marcus to his limits, but his unpredictable style and human ingenuity began to turn the tide. With a swift maneuver, he disarmed Varkis, forcing him to his knees. Justice and new law. Marcus spared Varkis's life, not out of mercy but strategy. "Your hatred only weakens you. Join us, or be remembered as a relic of the past." Varkis glared but saw the truth in Marcus's eyes. The factions watching from the sidelines stirred, uncertainty rippling through the crowd. Valkyra stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "By the laws of Sthura, the victor commands. But today the law changes." He turned to Marcus. "You have not only won the duel, but earned our respect and loyalty." The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and stunned silence. The ancient law, which bound Valkyra and her maids to Marcus, was now redefined, not as a symbol of ownership, but of alliance and mutual respect. Epilogue: A new dawn. Weeks later, Sthura was rebuilding. The scars of battle remained, but so did the hope of a new future. Marcus, Valkyra, and the maids stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The sun rose over the horizon, casting golden light on the fusion of human and Zelvar technology and culture. "We have more to learn from each other than we ever imagined," Marcus said. Valkyra smiled, a genuine rare warmth. "Together we will shape a future where our peoples thrive." Sira stepped beside them, her tone proud but softer. "And no one will forget that humanity's greatest weapon is its spirit." Key character developments. Marcus Holt, fully embraces his role as leader, blending human ingenuity with alien strength to create a new path forward. Lady Valkyra transforms into a visionary leader who redefines tradition, inspiring her people to accept change and alliance. The Maids, from captives to equals and warriors, they embody the story's core message of resilience and honor. Varkis, defeated but alive, symbolizing the fading old ways and the cost of resistance. Major conflicts and turning points. The climactic battle tests the alliance's strength and Marcus's leadership. The duel with Varkis provides a dramatic turning point, forcing the old guard to reckon with change. The reinterpretation of ancient laws signifies cultural evolution and mutual respect. Emotional and thematic beats. The story culminates in a powerful fusion of respect, honor, and cooperation. Themes of unity overcoming division and old traditions adapting to new realities resonate deeply. The tone balances the gravity of war with hope, triumph, and the irrepressible spirit of humanity. World-building elements. The battle reveals the tactical diversity of combined human and Zelvar forces. The ceremonial grounds become a symbol of transformation from rigid tradition to flexible alliance. The integration of technology and culture hints at a broader future where both species grow stronger together. The new law was clear. Marcus was not a conqueror who claimed concubines by right of victory. He was a partner, a protector, and a champion of two worlds united by respect, resilience, and the enduring spirit of humanity. And as the twin moons rose again over Sthura, the planet itself seemed to breathe easier, ready to face a future shaped by the bold heart of a human who had shattered expectations and forged new legends. If you want, I can help you draft dialogue scenes, expand on character backstories, or explore potential sequels or spin-offs. Tools.